Last week, Dr. Dayton Campbell shared his journey from a small town in St. Anne to the Houses of Parliament. Today, he speaks about his role rebuilding the PNP, balancing family, and his future in politics. I'm Archibald Gordon. This is Profile. Welcome to Profile Part 2 now of my interview with the General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell. And last week we ended the program by talking a little bit about, just your road to becoming the youngest member of Parliament ever for the People's National Party. I think you think that they're about number 3 on the list overall of youngest members of Parliament. And you were reflecting on, just people's understanding of the role of MP and how so much of it is about what happens in the constituency, but not what actually happens in Parliament. Let's talk a little bit about what happens in the constituency. What is required to actually make that work?
Well, so essentially what you're doing is making representation on behalf of the people. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that whatever number it is of persons that reside within that constituency can't go to, say, NWA to make representation for the road. Mm-hmm. So they elect one from amongst them to go and make the representation for them. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at the issues and figure out what are the issues that are affecting the people. It's not only about you. You can't just come and impose what you want to do on the people. Mm-hmm. So you have to first do the consultation. And the Social Development Commission, SDC, does community profiles. So you can have an idea as to what the issues are for the people and how they have prioritized them. In most parts of rural Jamaica, you have infrastructural challenges: road, lack of potable water, housing, land titling, electricity, and now, broadband internet. And then you have employment-related issues. And 80% of the economic activity in rural Jamaica is directly linked to agriculture. And then you have small businesses and, education from early childhood all the way up to university level, tertiary level, and also continuing adult education. And healthcare, in a similar way, primary healthcare, secondary healthcare, and then youth and community activities. They're likely to fall somewhere within those. So you have to then look at those and see which issues they are relevant and how you're going to use those to transform the area that you represent. To get a road done is not up to just the MP alone, because you have to get the approval for it. So what I tried to focus on was the things that I had direct control of. Because especially like what happened to me in my second term, when you are the MP but the other party forms the government, you're not going to get a lot done based on how resources are distributed. And so I focus on using my medical training to offer that back to the people. And so I started doing back to school medicals, and I used to do about 30 locations each year. I think over the 8-9 years that I was there, I did about 15,000 of them, free of charge. Did talks in the church about high blood pressure, high blood sugar, diabetes, about prostate cancer and the need for screening and those things. And signed up persons, so they could get their NHF card and JADEP at the time. They've now merged it. And, education. As I said, education is really the vaccine against poverty, regardless of what persons are saying. Even if you give somebody some money, if you give them money and they don't have a certain level of education, they're going to lose it. I was in a meeting, person said, education can them. I said, yes, that is true, but it can afford you. It gives you the opportunity to afford what you want to eat. Right? So you have to make that investment in it. And you have to be balanced at the same time. There are those people who the education is not what they need, but they still need that drain clean because it's at risk of, soil erosion and affecting their homes. So they still need that done as well. And take a balanced approach to what you're doing. So that's how I approached it. I did a second chance initiative, which was essentially geared towards giving females who would have gotten pregnant or something like that, or males that would have been involved in gang or anything like that, giving them a second chance to become something. And we ended up offering about 15 different areas. The hospitality areas, so like food preparation, bartending, those things. Then we realized we needed some more hands-on things for the males, so we did woodwork and plumbing and those things. And you know, we had a truck driving program which allowed some persons to migrate to Canada with their entire family, and they've gotten a real opportunity to make a meaningful change in their life and that of their family. Clearly there were things that were not done. I lost, right? So clearly there were things that were not done, and those are mostly infrastructural things that I couldn't have done because I didn't have access to the resources. So there are still bad roads, there's still community without water, including where I'm from up in Bamboo. There's still areas that we wanted to do health centers and they were not done. So, you know, you still had those issues there. And
when you think about all of these different kind, are you frustrated? I mean, you grew up in your own circumstances, so you know your circumstances and those of your community. But now you get the entire profile of the parish and you see the real needs. How do you deal with it?
It's frustrating. When you look at the data and it says to you that only 24% of the constituency has access to potable water, you're like, what are we doing? 60 years after independence. You look at the road network and you realize that, I mean, a lot of it is in a deplorable state. You look at the healthcare facility and you know, the health centers that are in the rural areas, there isn't a doctor that is there. Which is what you really want to do. You want to make primary health care the focus so that persons that don't have an emergency or an accident don't end up in the hospitals, but they actually seek care at the facility. But in order for that to happen, they have to be properly equipped, they have to properly staff.
They won't go there if
there's nothing there, they can't go there. So you have to see how you develop those. How do you lure some of the medical professionals to go to those areas? And you have to incentivize them, right? I think that you have to say to them that in order for them to specialize, they have to do a year in rural Jamaica, for example, or something of that sort. So, you know, you ensure that you have a constant supply of doctors going out to the rural areas so that persons can be seen. So it is concerning at times when you look at it. The number of students that are leaving school with 5 subjects to include math and English is still only 18%. That's less than 1 in every 5. And you know what the end result of that is going to be. These youngsters that are not meaningfully engaged, they're going to be recruited into nefarious activities and they're going to become a burden to the society. So that's one of the points I was making earlier, that, you know, when you come into politics, you come with a lot of energy and a lot of bright ideas and you want to change things, and then, you know, it slowly chips away at that, and you have to remind yourself every now and then as to who you are and who you represent. What's the purpose that you're here?
How do you do that? Well, actually, we're close to the break, so I'm going to take the break and then come back and hear your answer to that. We'll take our first break on Profile. My guest is Dr. Dayton Campbell. He's a leader who continues to shape Jamaica's political landscape. We're back with you after these messages.